The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monetizing Subscriber Intelligence webinar. We're doing this for Sandvine. This is Dan Geiger, Senior Director of Solution Marketing. And this is a new and emerging topic. We've been talking about monetizing subscriber data for a number of years. There have been quite a bit of experimentation in this area, and there hasn't necessarily been a trend towards doing this. In the past couple years, we've seen service providers, particularly as their wireless and their other, the growth revenue in other areas have tended to taper off. They've started to look to other ways to augment their businesses, and they are certainly turning to using subscriber intelligence and selling it and using it for ad purposes and using it for other intelligence purposes that other providers that make that other companies or for their own offerings and cross-sellings, the providers are using this information. And this also comes along with the use of big data and the type of computing that now is being done that was not truly available 5 years ago. So let's look at what's happening. It really is a brave new world for subscribers. And I'm going to start out here by talking about several of the largest carriers in the world and what they're doing, just to give an idea of the background of what's happening. At one point, we were talking primarily about consumer and enterprise groups. And if you look at what Optus is doing, really their portfolio mix is changing quite a bit. They've done acquisitions and partnerships on the mobile side. But in addition to that, if you look at it, they have a range of digital services from music, over-the-top video, mobile payments, in addition to their ongoing voice messaging and other media capabilities. And then if you look at their group services, which we would call enterprise or business services, you're looking at the standard enterprise services of telecom, but also cloud, cybersecurity, smart city solutions, and soon to be, I would think, would be IoT solutions as well. And so that this is another area of growth that they're expanding with, and we'll talk a bit about the IoT later on and how that's going to further augment some of the subscriber data information that the carriers can obtain. Then finally, if you look at this group digital life side, almost all carriers have taken on digital services as a nom de guerre for themselves, going out and saying they're digital lifestyle providers, they're instant, immediate, go everywhere providers, all types of media, and that's really how they're positioning themselves to particularly their consumer folks. And to do that, if you look at someone like a Singtel, they've bought Amobi, for instance, and Amobi is a digital marketing analytics ad type platform. They bought Hook and DataSpark. And what these providers, what these capabilities are, is really big data capabilities for them to parse, look at the subscriber data, and develop insight on that data so they can use it for other purposes. And I just want to say stop right now to talk about rethinking the role of the provider. It's really more today about non-traditional new business opportunities. So the whole talk of dumb pipe and the old focus on fighting over-the-top services and doubling down on traditional services really is gone. I mean, many of the providers are now in the entertainment business, the media business, the content business, the ad business. And so what we're finding is as they venture out into these larger areas and these new and disparate areas, they're becoming they have a much broader set of business concerns. And to support those business concerns, they're looking to their mobile customer base and their fixed customer base and saying, what do I know about them? How can I sell to them? And are there ways that I can use what I know about them and sell that to others so that they can advertise or provide content or provide services to those customers? So instead of looking at competing against over-the-top services, which is really, something that they gave up on, well, not everybody, but most have at this point accepted that they are going to be providing all types of services, and they're not necessarily going to own all of those services. And so instead, they're looking at leveraging their scale, their cash flow, their internal assets to compete more effectively across more market areas. Now, if you look at the business opportunity at hand, you look at the global advertising spend, and the numbers are compelling. And this is primarily most of these numbers on internet spend and where it goes on the digital side would really include Google, Facebook, Twitter, and others, as well as some of the carriers, and we'll touch upon that. And if you look at the growth we're seeing here of double-digit growth for a number of years and forecasted to do so in the future, and then when you compare it with the global mobile revenue growth through 2020, which is closer to 2% on average, in some areas it's higher, in some areas it's lower, you can see why there is much more interest in mining what they have within their large customer bases and making that available for further business opportunities. And these providers are making some really big bets. AT&T is largely going into the content provider business and using that content and access to customers in ways that are allow for advertising. So they bought DirecTV for tens of billions of dollars a couple years ago, and they're in the midst of buying Time Warner with a deal value of about $84 billion, and that's supposed to close by the end of the year. If we look at Verizon, they have gotten less into what we might say is the programming business and more into the advertisement. Of course, they're getting the programming side as well, but the focus here that I'm seeing that's most interesting is around content with AOL and search and digital marketing with Yahoo. And both of these deals have closed in the past year or so, Yahoo just recently, and it gives them much further reach. And an interesting fact, well, I'll pass it on to you later, but interesting fact is that Verizon already makes a large sum of money off of digital advertising on their own right. And then Telefonica is looking at it from a subscriber platform point of view. Now, Telefonica was one of the early providers who looked into subscriber data and said, we're going to try to mine it, and we're going to try to sell it in ways so that we can monetize it. And we're going to do it with anonymizing it, and even with some of the privacy concerns that exist throughout the world, Telefonica has been working with it to try to figure out how they can use the information either on a personal basis with subscribers, and in that case, the subscribers would need to opt in, or from an anonymized point of view, so they can make larger demographic decisions that can, or information that could be provided to others for ad platforms. So, AT&T, you look at why Time Warner, and if you look at what they're saying is that they're selling the advertising with AT&T at a factor of 2 to 3 times with a company like Time Warner. So if you look at it, it's really largely around bigger addressable advertising with Time Warner, as well as some of the content and assets. Time Warner will come with HBO, will come with CNN. It will give them a whole new profile in the business, in addition to DirecTV, which has really provided them with entire new ways to sell other services, bundling the services together and making it so that it's more advantageous to go with DirecTV than some other providers if you buy a complete AT&T package. And if you look at it, the last comment that I got from Wall Street Journal is Brian Lesser, CEO of new AT&T Business centered on advertising, content, data, and analytics, will help fuel this effort. Advertising, content, data, analytics, not necessarily words that you would have associated with AT&T 5 years ago. And then if we look at the Verizon example, AOL, they have Go Unlimited. Even though they have an unlimited plan, what we found is that the revenue actually fell when they started providing that unlimited plan. Now that could have been a given quarter issues, and I think that revenue has come back. But in short, there's not a lot of growth to be made on that wireless side. So they're looking at other ways to monetize. And interestingly, they have a program called Verizon Up that they're providing as a loyalty program, and they're putting all these offers together in a standard sort of content and an advertising group that's called Oath, OATH. And Verizon Up is a new loyalty program that gives the carrier access to subscriber data. The subscribers will sign up for loyalty for this offer. They will get access to events and content and access to new programming. And in exchange, they will give up access to data. And this is a fairly new program. We'll see where it goes, but they're truly working it. And then they have Yahoo coming on as well. And if you look at it, Verizon generates $7 billion a year already through digital advertising. So they've been finding ways to mine this data to provide more information to other advertisers, and they're just growing that. And then finally, if you look at Telefonica, they partnered with a company, where they bought a company called Axonics. And Axonics actually is a digital ad platform. It's a mobile ad exchange, and it allows brands to target ads at specific audiences, and it using anonymized segments of Telefonica's customer data. And Singtel is doing the same thing they bought a demand side platform called Turn, and they're doing with a Mobi. So this continues, and data monetization opportunities just abound. What we're seeing is that digital advertising is on the rise, upsell and cross-sell opportunities, and they're doing this internally with their own customers. And we're going to show some situations later on where we're talking about selling the content to other advertisers or other enterprises who want to be able to sell, and that would be called digital advertising, but also upselling or cross-selling their own services as they see their own customers act and behave in certain ways. They're also, as they provide this information, and they can focus on location and other areas, they can support digital billboards. So what can be said based on what types of customers are coming in at certain times, and the footfall patterns at certain times of day, what they can charge for those billboards, what they can charge for the advertising in a certain location. They can help enterprises plan new store locations and how they should partner based on the type of traffic that's happening within a venue. They can help marketers understand audience demographics. So it's a big deal. I mean, telecoms have a great deal of information about and spend about how customers spend. So if someone's paying X amount for a plan and they're a Apple iPhone user and they tend to go to different sites and use certain apps, there's a certain demographic that's suggested, and that's a certain type of person that you can sell to in a certain way. And then finally, they're starting to encourage data sponsorships, so that what could happen is that at a particular public venue, a local enterprise could provide free data at that venue, for instance, free Wi-Fi for 20 minutes, and they'll be highlighted when you sign up, so they certainly get well advertised and well placed. And then one thing that's, I think, really interesting is the emergence of the Internet of Things is just going to provide more options. And when I say more options, there's a great deal of data that's going to come from these, the Internet of Things, right? And what that actually means. So when we identify that not only, in my case, Dan Geiger uses a mobile phone and maybe moving through different locations, Dan Geiger may also have a number of devices that are house oriented. So he probably owns a house, and a number of other things tracking me and traveling around with me. It could be, smart watches and other things that would register quite a bit of information about me that adds more capabilities to a provider's subscriber data information, what we call subscriber intelligence. And when we talk about monetizations, it's ways to monetize, a way to make money off of it. So let's get a little bit more into the data itself. And there's lots of challenges with data. I mean, despite the wealth of available data, only a small percentage of service providers are really able to have been really possible or capable of converting big data investments into significant returns. This is from a couple of years ago, and what it's demonstrating is that some providers, everybody went into big data trials and activities several years ago, five or so years ago, and since that time, we've been able to track, or consultants have been able to track, researchers have been able to track the numbers of how the companies do with these digital projects. And what we've seen amongst our customer base is a real variance. Some of them have dedicated data scientists who are taking the data and actively working it, and actively working with offers and programs, and actively providing it to for other purposes. Now, the purposes could be advertising their own services for cross-selling, or providing it as part of subscriber data that they would sell from an ad platform point of view. So the idea is you don't need more data, you need the right data. And that's clear. I mean, the value proposition is, service providers deal with massive volumes of data. However, new opportunities, just have not grown commensurate with the opportunities they should have. Now they're getting more information based on the penetration of smartphones, clickstream data, application usage data, web categorization, the type of what customers are looking from a content point of view, location awareness, IoT. So you've got these reams of data. And when you think about it and you compare it to the Googles and the Facebooks, they have good location data, or they have good, personal information and demographic data. They may not necessarily have, all of the categorization and the application usage data and other things. They're good, but telecoms are very good at many of the things that they're good, and have additional information that's useful for targeting and for cross-sell. And so when I think about what we provide, and you just think about some of the things that a PacketLogic platform provides, is it will provide location, will provide device, content, application, subscriber tiers. We have filters that will look at the different types of services, that will look at the cells, will look at the capability of quality of experience. So how's their performance? How's it working? These activities will be helpful in what type of programs or offers to offer to an ongoing customer. If they're having bad service, maybe you provide them an offer in recognition of that, or a loyalty program to help keep them stay longer. And you could focus specifically on a given subscriber, or a set of subscribers who are in that same bucket of circumstances. And so let's look at the monetization enablers and how we look at it. Well, first there's network and traffic and services. So if you look at what we provide network agnostic data, which can be from any network source. So whether it's a Wi-Fi, mobile, whatnot, we'll take it all, and we'll be able to combine it and structure it appropriately. It's highly granular, down to the customer data level, traffic, specific individuals, many data perspectives, locations, service tiering, and so forth. Performance tracking for quality of experience metrics. OSS data is also included. So what we'll do is take that OSS data, which we get from the different operational support systems that would be looking at billing, would be looking at customer service, or other categories that telecoms are developing and collecting information on, and we can combine that with the network-oriented information, the traffic orientation, or the quality of service orientation. We then provide big data enablement with IPFix for real-time and ODBC for general database access. And we provide metadata and subscriber information that's groomed and structured. And all of this is done before it's pushed to a big data platform so that the big data platform can readily use it. So we combine, from the subscriber insight point of view, we combine, enrich, and normalize that demographic data so that it can be given to external sources, either through an ad platform or it can be used internally for your own cross-sell. All data can be personalized or anonymized, for privacy, and it's ultra granular logging of to a very detailed level about subscriber activities, tracked individual connections even. And I want to give you an example of the subscriber data in action on an ad exchange example. And what we're looking at, it's the integration between Sandvine's information. If you start from the right-hand side and go leftward, if on the bottom side, we're getting all types of information from the core network. We're getting application information, the transaction logging, the networking metrics, device information, location information, control play transactions. So are they buying something? What's happening on the demographic side with subscriber details from the other operational services that are tracking customers and billing and so forth. Then that information gets taken, it's groomed, it's provided to the data warehouse where then that information is mined and it is then provided, in this case, for a demand side platform. So it provides it on the supply side, bidding occurs, a demand, and then these outside companies would look at that information and use it to augment their own programs or use it for their own targeting. And I was driving the other day and I thought this was interesting. I use Waze, which is a Google application, and while I was getting close to my location, I received an offer for killer costumes dead ahead with Halloween City. And I thought that was pretty clever. And I knew that, some outfit was paying a fair amount of money to get my eyeballs. And I was thinking, well, that's Google and Facebook getting that opportunity to sell that. And then, considering this presentation, I was thinking, well, what about all these other tremendous brands that are now getting into this mix and who should be able to provide location-based, targeted advertising for similar purposes. It could be through SMS. It could be through inserts into web screens. It could be in any number of ways and through applications. Any number of ways to actually target customers directly or provide that information to those advertisers that we had just seen from the AdCat platform and be able to allow them to sell, Halloween City killer costumes dead ahead as well. So there's revenue being left on the table. And if you look at what Google and Facebook are doing, their revenue from ads are in the order of 60 to 70 billion is what I've seen. I could be wrong by a factor of 2 there, honestly, with the growth they've been having. But it's a large amount. And if you think of Verizon just having 7 billion of that, you have to consider the opportunity that lies ahead. And here's a specific information of a customer of ours that happens to be in Asia. It's a converged tier 1 operator. And the operator has been successful in positioning itself as a digital lifestyle partner, offering value to both subscribers and merchants. So in this case, they do cross-selling and for their own products. And then in addition, they're providing this information or they're providing an ad platform so merchants can either use the subscriber information for demographic purposes and better targeting, or to actually go and use that information as targeting information for certain ads and certain offers. What's happened at this, one of the things that's really interesting about this provider is that when we got under the covers and talked a bit about their organizational situation, they have literally, dozens and more like hundreds of data scientists. And what these data scientists are doing is culling the information is in ways, through data science uh, formulations and through using systems such as Cloudera, for Hadoop and for and different structured databases, using SAS and other statistical analysis, ComScores, Tableau for visual reporting, Unica, which is a marketing campaign platform. So what will happen is, this is now, if you look from the left-hand side over, they'll take all this OSS, BSS, and network insight and customer insight and traffic insight. They'll load it through IPFix in this case, which is a real-time protocol. It would provide it to their, uh, their different systems. It will then be identified if there's an opportunity. For instance, they happen to be in a place of Asia where they're able to look at some of the network traffic or the websites that customers are going for. So if a customer to look at a competitor, for instance, over and over, they would have to consider that that customer would be potentially leaving them. And so what they would do is provide an offer, or in addition to that, they would identify that the customer has been looking at home purchases or rental properties, and then they could, when that goes on, they could also offer rental value in particular areas. They could offer furniture. They could do different selling of or targeting capabilities for other merchants. So they're using it in many different ways, and we know as a fact they're making a fair amount of revenue off of this. I can't provide those figures, but they're sizable and they're growing, and they pay for that department that is largely stocked with intelligent data scientists. And here's a customer profile, and it's a little granular, but I just wanted to walk you through this to make sense. And you would start at the top down, and this is from 9/16 one day to 9/27, and you can literally, what these folks are doing, the data scientists, is they're literally tracking individual profiles and then subscribers, and then they get certain profiles of them, figuring out they're a certain type of subscriber, and they will either work directly with them, or they'll put them in a bucket with other subscribers who are like them and provide that information for advertising purposes. So here's someone who logs in at 9 o'clock, likely a commuter because they're doing this, on an ongoing basis. They consistently log on to a network in the same location. It's likely their residence or neighborhood. Private corporate domains suggest who their employer might be. Commute always ends at Union Station, likely workplace area. Person actually in the evening is looking at a dating service, an Indian dating service. So that's a certain ethnicity is suggested, and you can just see how they can build profiles of where this person is, where they're going, what they're interested in, continue moving forth and finding out, well, in this case, this person could be offered a dating service, or they're also looking at a home. This person could be offered furniture, or some sort of a realtor advertising would be provided, and the provider could make money off of that. In addition to that, this is a subscriber who's interested in electronic gadgets and follows through with an online purchase. And that's considerable. And this is someone who's buying online. So that's we see a Best Buy here, purchase here. We also see iPhone access using Mozilla. So there's quite a bit of information, and even information about the credit card that they use. So there's quite a bit of information on what this person is doing from a purchase point of view. And some specific examples, and these really are drill downs of the type of statistics you can get out. This is not something that that would be used for an ad platform or necessarily for big data analytics for cross-selling. It would be used for other purposes. So for instance, this would be used for service and offer planning. So The graph is plotting daily usage instances on the y-axis to the usage band on the x-axis. And what it suggests is that the majority of daily usage is within the 300 megabyte uh, category. So what we're seeing is 90 close to 98% of the customers are and this could be on a daily, this is on a daily basis, and they're all within this certain band. And that means that their 100 megabyte band that they're offering, possibly on a daily basis or as a service offer, is the right size. It's covering everyone, and it's probably the right size also because of the content that's being provided, and being downloaded, which could be compared as well. And then on top of that, there is some number of subscribers who are interested in who are going way over that, and there could be an offering that's provided to them that's unlimited plan, or targeting them with high usage offers. And then this is an interesting one because it's a subscriber footfall pattern. And what that means is, if you look at this, this is a retail space. Consider it to be a retail space at, let's say, an airport. And each of these areas are the access points, and showing the sort of amalgamation of people, or volume of people in a given access point area during a certain time frame, in this case 3 minutes and 12 seconds. And what you see is that from a footfall or a traffic point of view, there's certain places where more people are showing up. And if that's the case, that means that in those venues, that those stores could potentially be charged more for their sites. So when you look at a location, you're trying to figure out where are the best places to go, or what stores are drawing the most traffic. That's another way of looking at it. You could look at this through this footfall pattern, and be able to, for instance, place a billboard in that area because that area is the most often traveled, and maybe where more people are standing. Place a shop, place a service. So this is gives quite a bit of information on that domain, airline lounges and so forth. And then this is an interesting one too. A customer that is using the capability, it's a Wi-Fi service that uses the capability to track people as they go through subways, identifying what their specific sites that they look at, what sites they visited, where they are, the location information. So it's a dashboard that shows a Wi-Fi user traveling through the subway and their user application usage. This says more and more information about them. This also could lead towards some sort of cross-selling or advertising in certain stops that they get off, in an ongoing basis. So here's profiling based on interest and activities. And in this case, what we're looking at is it's what we're seeing is a Pokemon Go player, for instance, and we're seeing quite a bit of game traffic, and the types of websites they're visiting are game oriented. In addition to that, they're collecting merchandise points through Shopkick, an application that does promotional loyalty points. And they're taking photographs and placing it on a certain site. So this also gives a certain profile of the type of person. You can almost envision that person by figuring out this profile. So I just wanted to finalize here with what we're saying. We call it the make money propositions, and all these capabilities are around targeting specific subscribers or allowing others to figure out more about subscribers so that they can better target their offers. And this is enabling precise targeting of advertising for marketers and leading to increased conversion. Other ways that it is useful information that converts to a make money proposition for telecoms is to offer deep subscriber insights to adjacent industries. So if you think of travel or finance or sports, you can provide personalized offers and promotions around those types of activities when you can see that customers are thinking about it, or they're traveling, or they're looking at financial websites, or they're making financial transactions. And you can also identify new cross-sell or upsell opportunities. I gave that situation before where we have a provider who, as they're looking in real time at customer data, they're also identifying, oh, this customer has these interests. We could fulfill that interest with our own upsell capability, or maybe we want to provide them with loyalty points to help retain them. So there's different aspects or different ways to cross-sell or upsell within your customer base. They may be looking for entertainment and you want to provide them television services. So there's an idea. Also increases the effectiveness of marketing campaigns across the board. And as these campaigns move along, you're also able to see what customers are doing or how they're reacting to the campaigns and track that. You can assist with the venue planning, as we've talked about, providing insights into attendee demographics, their interests, the type of people they are with the demographic information. And then finally, you can increase subscriber retention by offering tailored loyalty programs. And this specifically is what Verizon Up is doing, where they're offering a loyalty program and the subscribers are providing more information about themselves as part of taking place in that loyalty program that provides them with quite a bit of benefits from an entertainment point of view. So that's the end of our presentation today. If you have questions, please add them through the chat, and I'll answer those questions post facto. Get directly back to you. I do want to say, though, that we're going to be having another a Packet Logic webinar in just a couple weeks. It's going to be on dashboards and visual tools for operating a large public Wi-Fi venue. And we have some deep experience in this case, and a particular instance that I'd like to go into more detail with you and give you an idea of the type of monetization, the type of services that you can provide within Wi-Fi venues. Thank you very much, and I wish you all pleasant days and evenings.